Okay, great. Yeah, we are live here. Awesome. We're live in the Facebook group, Six Figure House Flipper. Today we have a special guest. I guess it's been a while since I've done an interview here. We actually have a special guest here and very excited to bring her on, hear her story. A lot of people, want to use flipping and fix and flipping and a lot of these different activities within real estate to get into assets where you're earning passive income, where you're earning cash flow. A lot of probably the biggest one I hear is always everyone wants to get into multifamily. Like I want to, or I want to own a 6 unit, 20 unit, 100 unit. I want to own units in multifamily and, earn the cash flow from that and retire early, financial freedom, all that good stuff. So what I've done today is actually I'm bringing on a special guest. Her name's Stacy. She invests across the United States into multifamily. She has a lot of projects going on. She's, super busy but she's very experienced to say the least when it comes to multifamily. So, excited to bring her on board here and kind of share her experience and help everyone here like how to get started in multifamily. So how are you doing, Stacy?
I'm doing awesome, Victor. How are you?
I am good. Well, appreciate you hopping on here, kind of sharing your story.
Sure.
I am curious, like I want to get into the nitty gritty for sure, but what got you started in multifamily? Like what got you interested in the first place? I'm just curious to hear your background.
Gosh. Well, I mean, initially it was literally almost 20 years ago. It was in 2003, April of 2003. I went to like a Tony Robbins event. And It kind of like broke my whole mind open as to like what's possible in life in general. And it really just shifted my path. And then I ended up reading a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, about, and I was like, oh, cash flow, that's interesting. I was on the corporate track. I worked in corporate America, and that's, I did what everyone else is told to do: go to school, get your job, buy a house, all the things. And that really started shifting my vantage point. So I just started going to investor clubs like many other people do and just learning and getting into it. What was compelling to me was the idea of making money without having to go to a job. I was, I was a controller for a public company, and they wanted me to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, what difference does it make what time I get there? So that probably should have been my first clue that corporate America wasn't my ideal situation. I'm like, look, I'm a performer. I will get shit done. Oh, sorry. I will get stuff done. But like, why do you care if I'm there at 8 o'clock in the morning? Because I'm probably going to be there till 8 o'clock at night. Anyway, so I just found that for me, there was probably a different path that I needed to take. And the idea of building something that could then bring in money without me going and doing a thing to do it was compelling. So it all started back in 2003. And since in that time I've done, every kind of real estate. I've done lots of flips. So flipping is super familiar to me. And
oh, great.
And it's fun. I love taking something that's super ugly and making it completely gorgeous. But the end game has always been to create freedom. And even though we don't do flipping in person, everything we did was always remote. So I'm not doing it with my hands or swinging a hammer. It's still work. Right. And I was like, okay, this isn't passive. So eventually we started moving our flipping profits into passive income, like multifamily. So that's kind of like a little bit of the background. And but we invest all over the US. So far, we've never invested where we live. We keep living in places that it doesn't make any sense to invest where we live.
Yeah. Any reason for that? Like, why not invest where you're at locally?
Well, so for up until recently, we lived in San Diego, California, and now we live in a very expensive part of Florida. And it's like, for cash flow purposes, there is none. That's just, I could buy a $700,000 house in a really basic neighborhood in San Diego and maybe get $3,000 a month rent. It's just like numbers don't work.
That's not
and
good.
It takes like, how much money does it take to put down on an investment property for $700,000? So it requires a lot of capital. And it doesn't, and even if it doesn't cash flow, the numbers don't work. And there's a lot of places more in the middle of the country where the prices are a lot lower, but the rents are still pretty decent. And so there's parts of the country that cash flow, and there's other parts of the country that don't. There's some parts of the country that are super tenant friendly, which is not good when you're a landlord. And then there's other parts that are more landlord friendly, which is an easier place to invest, a safer place to invest. So we've just always lived in places that didn't make sense. And so I learned really early on how to do it, how to lead a team, how to project manage an entire real estate transaction, but without ever being there. Jen and I never go to our properties.
There's a ton to unpack there.
Sorry.
Because I know you've been doing this for a while. Are you comfortable sharing like is like, I think you guys are like, was it 13 markets or 30 markets or like
14.
the number 14 markets? Okay.
Yeah,
So you
14
guys are
markets
pretty
actually,
active.
and we're about to enter 2 more. So we'll be in 16 markets when we
So you'll be in
close on
16
those 2
markets. Okay.
deals. Yeah.
You've got deals in 16 markets. So I mean, you guys are out there wheeling and dealing like it's not like you've done one little 4 unit and now you're experts. Like you guys have done a lot.
We've been doing it for almost 20 years. That's a lot of time to do lots of different transactions. We went through I know 2008, 2009 probably wasn't that relevant for you, but it was very relevant for me. I had already been investing for a couple of years at that point, and I learned a lot during that period of time, and which helped me to adjust my strategy post real estate crash back then.
You guys are active, been doing it for basically 20 years here. Okay. So I know we're talking like how to get started in multifamily. So with you and your like experienced viewpoint here, like, I guess what's the first step or like what, like a beginner, like someone who's brand new, maybe they've never done a deal before, they've never done a multifamily. Like, okay, like what do I do? Because I want to get into multifamily. What's your recommendation?
Okay, well, I am a teacher, so I'm going to start with a little bit of like a little bit of foundation, so
Yeah,
to help
please.
them be able to understand and take action. So the first thing to recognize when you're going into multifamily is to recognize that there's 2 different types of multifamily out there. So there's residential multifamily, which Jen and I call that small multifamily, and then there are apartments. So small multifamily or residential is anything that is 2 to 4 units, and the reason it's 2 to 4 units is because in the lending world, even if you're buying up to 4 units, it's still considered a residential property. But for some reason, when it switches to unit number 5, it's not a residential property anymore. It's considered commercial property. So it's a commercial loan. So the first thing is just to recognize that there's a major difference between small multifamily and apartments for 2 reasons. One is just the way that the lending is done. When you're doing residential, most of the decision making on the bank side is based on you. Like, what's my credit score? How much money do I make from my job? And like things like that. They're looking heavily at you, but then they also look at the asset. So they look at both. In commercial, they are like, oh, I mean, it's not that I am irrelevant, but they are much more focused on the property. What they want to see is that if I get run over by a bus, they're still good because the property will pay for itself. That sounds a little bit dark. So it's not that they don't look at the borrower, but they look at the asset first. So that's a really big difference between the 2. The other thing that's really big is how those properties are valued. So for example, like the BRRRR strategy is super popular, right? It's almost like that's like in fix and flip world, except you don't sell it, you refinance it to keep it. Right? So you buy it, except you're not putting it back on the market. You're fixing it up. It's usually going to be, let's say it's a duplex, you get it rented, so you get it stabilized. So that's a vernacular in multifamily world. So now it's stabilized, it's producing rent every month, and now you could take it to like a regular lender, and they're like, oh, we like it. It's not ugly anymore, and it has people in there, and we feel that's safe. So now you can take it to a normal conventional lender, refinance it, and the idea is if you run the numbers correctly, you can pull out some of the capital you put into it. Back when I was starting, the lending was so free for all that I could always pull out all of my capital plus some, but they would loan like 90%. All right. So now it's they'll lend 70 to 75%. So you can pull out some of your money and now you have money to do another one. That's called the BRRRR strategy. And that's how you would do like a value add on something smaller. How are those valued? Just like a single family home that you're going to flip, they're valued based on comps. Right. So if you're buying anything,
small ones for the residential.
Anything. Yeah, exactly. So anything up to 4 units, what it's worth is based on what other things sold for that are in similar condition to what your property is. Right. And so to me, like that, when people are going from flipping into multifamily, the small multifamily is going to be the closest, most familiar thing. If someone's never done a deal before, then it almost doesn't matter because they have nothing to attach to. But if you're already either buying single families or doing flipping, that's going to be like the smallest learning curve because it's so similar. The closing is the same. Even the lending, it's hard money. You still use hard money to buy. Oh yeah, absolutely. You could get, for like our brand new students that are multifamilies who are doing BRRRR, they'll get 80% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab, so, and then they get it fixed up. They go through all the learning curve of rehabbing, and then they refinance it, pull their money back out, and now they have a stabilized asset. And they either go, oh, I don't like doing rehabbing and dealing with contractors, so now I'm going to buy stabilized, or they'll like, that wasn't so bad, I'll do it again, and they have capital to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you recommend something like a beginner? Should they get into the smaller stuff, the residential first, or should they do the commercial first? Like, what's your
Well,
recommendation there?
since you're interviewing me and not Jen, who's sitting directly across from me right
Oh,
now,
is
because
she
I can
right
tell
now?
you
Okay.
she will say something different. So
Yeah,
I'll tell you what I say, and I will also tell you what she says, because you have
please.
audience members that are going to resonate differently with this different message. Personally, I feel like it's a long journey, right? The path of real estate, you learn, you're always learning. And when you get into any new part of real estate, the learning curve is practically vertical, especially when you're just starting. Like there's
Mhm.
so much to learn. So the way I look at it is I feel like people are going to have not necessarily more success, but it's going to be less stressful if they just stair step it, like baby steps. That
Oh,
might be
okay.
more my conservative personality, because I'm
Yeah.
like, look, but when you're going from flipping to trying to buy a 50 unit apartment building, I mean, you might as well be trying to speak speak Mandarin to, your English speaking kids. They're like, it's so different.
Okay.
So Jen would be like, why bother with 2 to 4 units? Like,
Mhm.
just go buy a 10 unit. Like, why? So that really speaks to a difference in personality. And so what we've really
Mhm.
come to find out, just through ourselves looking at all of our students that we teach, is it's one or the other is not right or wrong. It just literally
Really?
depends on the
Huh.
person. So someone who's more of a like, let's go, like not super risk averse,
Hmm.
willing to like go take some chances, and I don't care, I'm just going to learn on the fly, let's make it happen.
Hmm.
They can go from flipping right into 10, 20 units. The learning
Yeah.
curve is going to be insane, but they don't care. Whereas people who are a little more analytical, they want to analyze everything to death.
Uh-huh.
It's That's a harder leap.
Okay.
So anyway, so I'd say if someone is more like, oh, I kind of just want to learn as I go, getting into small multifamily is a great segue.
Hmm.
But then what's next and what's different? So I'll explain like why apartments are different. When you go to get your loan, like I said, they look at more at like the building itself,
Hmm.
but the valuation is not based on comparable sales. It's not ignored. Banks are still going to look at, well, what else sold to make sure it's not crazy. But the
Hmm.
way that the property is valued is now based on the net income of the property.
Okay. So,
So,
yeah. So what does that mean if you can break that down?
so the one of the common terminology in multifamily is net operating income,
Mhm.
regardless of whether you're small or large. Net operating income, NOI, that's like going to become like your best friend if you get into this. So net operating income is all the rents and revenue that come in minus operating expenses. For example, property management, insurance, taxes, maintenance, marketing, whatever, right? And whatever costs you incur to just run the property. The mortgage is not included in that.
Mhm.
Okay, so revenues minus expenses is net operating income.
Oh,
So
okay. Like if you were to buy it cash, kind of.
yeah, well, if you were to buy it, well, if you were to buy it cash, then your net operating income would also become your cash flow.
Right.
If you
But so
if you
like the
buy it
net
with a
operating
mortgage,
income is
like
like no mortgage, right? You're like you're
it's before the mortgage.
it's before the mortgage. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, just
So
trying to
it's
clarify that.
used all the time because almost everybody uses a mortgage because leverage makes us be it's the millionaire maker, right?
Mhm.
So net operating income is, revenues minus expenses. So this is how much the property produces, but everybody, however someone's going to finance the deal is going to be dependent on, maybe they're going to 1031 exchange money in. Maybe they're going to put down 50%. Maybe this person's only going to put down 30%.
Mhm.
And because that's different, that's not really part of it. So when you take the net operating income and then you subtract the mortgage payment, whatever that is, whatever's left, that's the cash flow. But that's different for everyone because it depends
Okay.
on
Yeah.
how did you finance it.
Mhm.
So in apartments or 5+ units, the value of the property is actually based on the net operating income,
Mhm.
which the benefit of that is if you can look at, let's say, I don't want to use such a big example that it makes people's heads explode, but I think it will still explain the point. So
Yeah.
Jen and I, the most recent deal that we're getting into, it's 296 units. So it's a very large property, right?
Mhm.
But the idea of it is the way that the property's been operating for the last several years, it's like everybody's in there, all the tenants are in there, but like the current management team didn't recognize that they weren't keeping up to speed with market rents.
Mm.
So they could have been renovating and raising the rents, and they could have been offering like valet trash service and getting money in for that, like offering preferred parking, covered parking. So there's things that they could have done that would have brought the net operating income up. And if they had done that, then the property value would have been much higher.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they didn't do that. They didn't know, or they were tired. I don't know. But so our group basically came in and said, yeah, we'll pay your $27.5 million for the property, because we can see, oh, well, we could put 2 million into it and raise the value by 8 million,
Hmm.
because we can go in and increase the rents as we
Hmm.
renovate. We can do all these value add things. So the opportunity in apartments, even a 5 unit, a lot of our students start with, like, 6 to 10 units, little small ones. Even with a 5 to 10 unit property, if you see that they're not charging market rents, or they're maybe paying all the tenants' utilities. That was another one. We just have one of our students do a
Oh, that's
24 unit,
interesting.
and the
Yeah.
current landlord just paid all the utilities for the tenants, even though they have separate meters. There's no reason to. So when our student Amalia goes in and basically, as the leases renew and the tenants move out, or the current tenants, she's like, no, now you're paying your own utilities. That
Hmm.
decreases the expense, which then
Right.
increases the net operating income. And just by doing that one change alone, that will increase the net operating income in a way that changes the value of the property by $50,000.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you're
so
just
it's just
doing
like,
anything you can to increase that net operating income, because that's going to show up big time in the valuation.
yeah, it's almost like it has, in not even a great market, it has a 10x effect. It's almost
Hmm.
like 10x is going to be probably the
Hmm.
lowest um, multiplier you'll see. And it's just, I don't want to get so much into like the technicalities that
Yeah.
people are
No.
like, wait,
Yeah.
what? But there's something called market cap rate, and it's just every market, like in San Diego, the market cap rate was like 3 point something percent, very, very low. In, let's say, probably Kansas City, Missouri, it's probably like 10%. So what that means, the lower cap rate means things are really expensive,
Hmm.
and any dollar of cash flow is more valuable there. So when you're in a market like that has a lower cash flow, and you can raise up, or the
Hmm.
lower cap rate, and you can raise up the net operating income from the just the stuff in your head that you go, oh, that's interesting. I can see that literally market rents have gone up by, you know, 5% over the last 2 years, and the current landlord is managing it themselves, and they like the tenants
Hmm.
and they feel bad. And so because of that, they have not kept up with it. They literally are missing an opportunity. So I can go
Hmm.
in, buy it, and be like, okay, I'll pay you what it's worth right now, because your rents are not that great. And I can go in, and over the course of 12 to 24 months, these are not, it's not a
So
fix and flip.
yeah, it takes a
It's,
while longer.
yeah, it's a year to 2 years typically, because
Hmm.
you got to get people out, renovate if necessary.
Hmm.
And then you're just looking for what opportunities are there that I can either get more income in.
Hmm.
Vending machines. What are some of the other ones? One of the things we're doing in the 296 unit is there's hookups in all of the units for washers and dryers,
Okay.
but but not everybody has them. So we're like, okay, cool. We'll buy them and we'll rent them to
Hmm.
them. And that has a huge, it doesn't cost very much for us to buy the units,
Yeah.
but the rent coming in every month shows up on our financials. And that then changes the value
Hmm.
of the property for the next buyer. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's why apartments are different, because you can change the value based on making operational changes. When it comes to 2 to 4 units, you can renovate to increase the value, but it can only be worth what other things have sold for.
Hmm. That's kind of tricky then, right? I mean, I guess there's more value to make in the commercial side of things, right? Because you have to look at comps. And that was always my issue with flips. Like you have to look at comps,
Yep.
and it's kind of a silly model if you ask me. But I mean, that's what people do. So that's what you're stuck
Yeah.
doing.
Well, you have to, part of your job as an investor, if you're flipping, is you have to predict the future. You have to
Yeah.
predict, what can I sell this for? Because if I don't know what I could sell it for, then I could overpay right now. And
Hmm.
then what did I just do all this for? I
Hmm.
did to spend my time and money, and I didn't make enough money to make it worth it.
Yeah.
And that is, with 2 to 4 units, you still do look at comps, but it's not for how much can I sell it for? It's for, when I'm done doing all of this, how much will the value of the property be?
Hmm.
Because when I go to refinance, the bank is going to look at that value and go, oh, okay,
Oh, yeah.
we'll loan you 70 to 75%. And you want to make sure that that loan amount is high enough to take out your hard money lender,
Hmm.
and ideally give you back some of the capital that you put into the deal. But that's, you're limited. So in apartments, like the more you can raise the income, the more you can make on the property, either through cash flow if you hold on to it,
Hmm.
or you can, the value add strategy is basically flipping apartment buildings.
So is that what you guys do? Like, do you guys like, hey, we're going to find this undervalued thing and like in 12 to 24 months, we're going to sell it? Or do you guys just hold on to it forever?
We actually do both.
Oh, really? Okay.
We
So
do both. We have kind of
what
a
makes you
balanced
decide?
approach.
Yeah.
It's hard because we have, again, Jen and I have different personalities, and we actually
Okay.
like ebb and flow. Like a couple years ago, she was just like, we were flipping in some properties, and she was like, I just want to hold them. Like, why do we have to keep selling them? And I'm like, because
Mhm.
they're not going to cash flow that well. Like, these properties are too nice. And so she's like, I hate selling them. I just want to keep them. Right. So we were
Mhm.
laughing about that. And then just yesterday, we were talking about selling off one of our portfolios because the market had gone up so much.
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't want to sell them. I like this. And she's like, wait, what? She goes,
Yeah.
now she's ready to sell. And I'm like, no, I want to hold on to them. So part of what helps us decide is really when we're looking at what are we going to do with the money? Like, is it an ideal time? Like one thing we found out is that the prepayment penalty that we have with that loan doesn't really make it, it's not profitable enough for us to sell and then
Mm.
take the money and move it into something else that's going to take us to the next level. So we're just going to hold it for a couple more years, let the prepayment penalty go down a bit, and then we'll reevaluate at that time. So our decision on whether we are holding something long-term or buying it to flip it
Mhm.
is really based on what can we do with it and what amount of time. But at some point you kind of max out on what you can make. And then you're like, okay, cool. And we've raised the value, we have some cash flow, but if we sell, we can go take this and put this into another asset
Mhm.
that makes us another several $1,000,000 plus cash flow.
Mhm.
So you're like, so that's part of what it is. It's just making the decision, not being emotionally attached, like I clearly was indicating that I earlier was feeling about it. But that's what helps drive our decision is what are we going to do with the money? Is there a place to put the money?
Oh, okay. So it's an
How is
open.
the market doing? How are the interest rates and
Yeah.
things like that? So if we were at a point where we were going to go sell and the interest rates were really high, so any next loan is not going to give us that much cash flow, well, we might as well just stay in what we have.
Mhm.
But
Okay. So is that like what you guys really look at? Like, hey, where are interest rates? Where are they gonna be? Do you guys like watch that like a hawk? Or like what are, I
no,
guess, like a deeper question, like what's like the metrics you guys look at, like thinking about this long term?
well, so one of the things we're always looking at is one of the things I know about real estate is you never know. Like you never know what's ahead. I
Yeah.
have felt like for a while that we are due for a market correction, but the market continues to hold strong despite how I thought. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I just don't know. But when
Mhm.
I look at, being in it for 20 years gives you a lot of hindsight, and and interest rates are very, very low right now. It's difficult for me to believe that they're going to stay this low because they're weirdly low.
Okay.
And if this is all you've ever seen, they don't seem that low to you. But I'm like, this is crazy. At some point, the interest rates are going to go up. So I'm like, okay, well, so as we're looking at that and planning for like where our next moves are, that's one of the things I'm aware of. Like, okay, well, if the interest rates go up, how does that change it? Like, well, for homeowners, they can only pay what they can pay,
Mhm.
right? So if the interest rates go up, that's going to push the house prices down. And so basically, like we literally just recorded a YouTube video. I think it goes public on next Sunday, and it was our predictions for 2022.
Oh,
And the
okay.
whole
What are the
gist of it, when we got
predictions?
to the end of it, I was like, look,
Yeah.
my whole advice is just be conservative in your underwriting, because I do think that prices are going to soften, not like tank. I don't mean like a crash, but I think they're going to soften at some point
Mhm.
because interest rates are probably likely going to go up. And just have a backup strategy. Make sure that if you run your numbers, that you could rent it if you had to. If all of a sudden you're not going to get the price that you need to sell to make the profit, well, what does it look like to rent it? And just have a backup exit strategy.
Mhm.
So
I like it.
anyway,
Same thing for flipping. Like I recommend like, hey, have
yep,
multiple exit strategies because worst case does happen sometimes, so.
it does. And the longer that you're in the business, you start realizing, yeah, I need to. We're always optimistic, always positive, but always with a backup plan as well,
Mhm.
just in case, because we've
Mhm.
certainly been caught off guard with the just in cases before. You live and
You had
learn.
those happen before. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so there's a lot to talk about there. For I don't know if we share the definition of cap rate. So like what's the definition? Because I deal with like a lot of real estate beginners, like they're working on their first deal, they're trying to
Yeah.
get to six figures. So yeah, what's cap rate?
Oh God, cap rate is something that tends to blow people's minds a little bit. Let me think of like how to. It's funny because I said this explanation point. I explained it this way once, and someone who just I guess know it all was just like, "That's not the technical definition." And I was like, "I'm aware of that, but I'm speaking to new investors." So, okay, so let me help you understand This is not the technical definition, but this is the operational definition.
Mhm.
A cap rate is, it's almost like a return on investment. I'll explain this with some numbers in a minute.
Great.
It's almost like a return on investment if something was bought with cash. So for example, let's say that I had a net operating income at the end of the year of $10,000.
Mhm.
Right. So I buy my property, I'm operating it, it produces $10,000 of net income after paying the expenses of the property. And let's say I paid $100,000
Okay.
for that property. Okay. So what that would mean is I have net operating income, I have $10,000 coming in, and I bought it. I didn't pay 100,000, but I bought it for 100,000. That was the purchase price. My cap rate would be 10,000 divided by 100,000. So it'd be 10%.
10%. Oh, okay.
10%. Okay.
That's helpful,
And
yeah.
a cash flow market that's like not hot at all. It's just like, that's all it's good for is just cash flow. You're going to probably see no appreciation. Will typically be like in the 10%
Okay.
cap rate range. All right. So on the other hand, let's say that at the end of the year, I have $6,000 in net operating income. All right.
Mhm.
So I don't have anywhere near as much left over, but I still had to pay $100,000
Mhm.
for that $6,000 cash flow. So my cap rate would be 6,000 divided by 100,000, which would
Right.
be 6%.
Yeah.
Right. So if there was no mortgage, then the net operating income and the cash flow would be the same thing. So if I paid out of pocket $100,000 to receive back 6,000 over the end of the year, my return on investment would be 6%.
Mhm.
And if I put out $100,000 to receive $10,000,
Mhm.
then my return on investment, cash on cash return would be 10%.
Right.
Right. So cap rate, that's basically, that's what it is. It's like a return on investment if there was cash. Like the technical answer of it is it's the rate at which it's the rate at which multifamily are traded in the market.
Oh, I
It's not
see.
help. The actual definition is not helpful to someone who's actually trying to
Mhm.
learn, but it's a little bit counterintuitive. But actually, a 6% cap rate market is more valuable.
Mhm.
It means the real estate's actually more valuable
And
because
a 10%?
which
Oh,
is like,
gotcha.
wait, what?
Like it's more
But I'm going to pay
desired,
that and
right?
make less cash flow.
Yeah.
It's
That makes
because
sense.
people are willing to pay $100,000, even though it's only $6,000. That would be like in San Diego. Not that you can buy
Yeah.
anything for 100,000. In San Diego, what I buy for 100,000, I would only get $3,000 at the end of the year because the prices are, the real estate is
Mm.
valuable. So people are willing to accept less cash flow, less net income, because I want to own property there because
Mhm.
it's a more valuable real estate market. So,
Mhm.
and there's no right or wrong. We have like one of our students, Temmie, when his first apartment deal was a 6 unit and he did it in Hartford, Connecticut.
Mhm.
But before that, when he was like, I want to get started, our first question was, well, what's your goal? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And that
Mhm.
really should be everybody's first question, because otherwise you don't really know what you're trying to go, what you're trying to go after.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, what do you want? He's like, well, I want to buy an apartment building. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that. Everybody was, but why? Like, what's your goal? And
Mhm.
basically he said, well, I don't hate my job. He's a mechanical engineer. He's like, I don't hate my job, but there's just so many other things I'd rather be doing.
Mm.
Like participating in Spartan races and doing, like, he loves anything outdoors. So he's like, I don't hate my job, but I'd really like to not go if I don't have to. And we were like, okay, well, in that case, then you probably
Yeah.
want to focus on cash flow,
Mhm.
right? You want to get as much cash flow as you can so that when you have enough cash flow, you can leave your job because you have enough coming in. And then you're just living
Mhm.
off of that instead of having to go trade your time for dollars, right?
Mhm.
So then he went and he was looking for a market that had a higher cap rate,
Mhm.
right? On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, if I talk to someone and they're like, I'm fine, Steve, one of our students, his first apartment, he bought lots of duplexes first. So he did baby stair step it, although he
Yeah.
went really fast. Like in 6 months, he had like 20 units. I was like, okay, a
The
whole
ramp
bunch of
is great.
duplexes. And he's like, okay, I'm ready for apartments now. So he was like, well, I'm not leaving my job. I love my job. He's a physician's assistant. And he's like, I'm never leaving my job. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, well, what do you want to accomplish? He's like, I want to make equity. I want to build up my retirement. I'm like, okay, well, in that case, you're going to be looking for a market that isn't so much about cash flow, because
Mhm.
the cash flow doesn't matter to him right now. Just going to go in the bank and it's just more cash in the bank. He wants to think long term. He wants to create equity.
Yeah.
So I said, you have to go to a market that has a lower cap rate where you're going to go in and you're going to try to find something that's underperforming and you're going to pay for it. And then you are basically going to, through your management skills, he doesn't even live where the property is, but he got an 18 unit and it was someone self-managed it. They managed it themselves for all these years. They knew all the tenants and they hadn't raised rents in years. They were $500 to $600 a month per unit under rent, under market.
Oh, really?
Like
Wow.
insane.
That's
insanely
crazy.
under market. They're charging $450 for a unit that should be renting for $1,000 a month. So when Steve found that, he was like, oh, I see an opportunity. It was totally full. So it's already cash flowing, but he's like, wow. As people's leases are up, he would give them notice. So they would move out. They would renovate the unit and rent it out for $1,000. So now instead of making, I don't know, whatever 450 times 18 is, he was making more than double of that.
Yeah,
well, then that more than doubled the value of the property. Anyway, so but a lower cap rate market basically made it so that they increased the value of the property from 2 million when they bought it to 3 million by the time that they're done with the they think they're in like month 10 at this point. So it's an 18-month play for them. So once they get all the way through the whole building and get everybody's units like up to date market rents, the value based on the market cap rate will be $3 million. So in 18 months, they would have basically created $1 million of equity. He doesn't need the cash flow. He's like, I'll just dump the cash flow back in the units, and he used the cash flow to renovate. But when they sell it, they're going to make $1 million. And he's like, cool. And then I can put that in my retirement account. But the reality is he's not going to put it anywhere. He's just going to go buy another building.
Oh, is he?
Because now he's hooked. Oh yeah, he bought an 18 unit, then he bought a 10 unit, then he got into another 10 unit. And I think he's working on a 20 unit, some kind of hunting lodge or something right now that's like an Airbnb hunting lodge. So, you know, that was his first one. He's totally hooked on real estate now.
There we go. He's in, yeah.
He's having a very good time. But anyway, the lower cap rate market then goes with his strategy for, I don't need cash flow, but I really want to make sure that my retirement is set. So I'm okay waiting for the cash flow. So if people want cash flow right away, you go for a higher cap rate market. If you're like, I don't really need cash flow and I'm willing to take longer and go through the value add, work with the property manager every week to basically bring that across the finish line, and I'm willing to wait for it, then you go value add with a lower cap rate, market cap rate.
That's really cool. No, I appreciate you breaking down like the different strategies, because people might think like, oh, I need again the multifamily, but you don't realize like how multifaceted like that is. Like, oh, you can do this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good segue here, because I know you guys actually do this, but I know you guys actually like mentor, like coach people, like how to actually get into multifamily. So I'd love, love to hear about that. Once you get
yeah. So we do, God, I've been coaching people since 2006. When I learned how to do real estate investing, the education was so bad. It was missing so much, and I was lost all of the time. And every time something would happen in a deal, I'd be like, what the heck? Like, why didn't they teach me about this? So even when I was doing accounting, I'm a CPA, but even when I was working in corporate America, I was always trying to teach someone about debits and credits. Like I always want to teach people whatever I want to know to just help them elevate in life. So that's my natural personality. But when it came to this, I was like, gosh darn it. If I could ever figure out all this stuff, I might go back and teach other people, because it should not be this difficult. Like, why couldn't they just teach me the details? And I recognize I'm a detail-oriented person. Like, I need you to tell me A, B, C, D, like every single step to Z for me to feel comfortable. And so I'm like, well, if I'm like that, there have to be other people. So I've been like teaching and mentoring people for years, but Jen and I started a company called Warriors of Wealth. And so the whole idea is we tell people like, look, this isn't easy. There's nothing easy about real estate. And if someone's out there trying to sell you on, oh, passive income, oh, real estate, it's the best way, and it's so easy, BS. It isn't easy at all. It's hard. And you grow as a human being in ways that you can't even fathom, because you have to get thick skin. You have to be willing to handle confrontation. You have to be able to handle difficult, challenging situations that come up and figure out, how do I still have all of these things and still take it across the finish line? You literally become a different person. It's like, if you want more, you have to become more. So anyway, so we were like Warriors of Wealth, because it's, it's a battle. Like we're like, you're a gladiator, and you're stepping into the Coliseum. You are fighting for you and for your family, your future, and what you want. but be willing to. Because the last thing we want, it's like what we don't want to do is attract people that are like, oh, I don't want to do the work. Well, you don't want to do the work, then go back and get your job. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. If you want to have an amazing future, you have to be willing to do what it takes to create that. Nothing is given to you ever. So anyway, so Warriors of Wealth, that's what we specialize in, is just we teach people how to do multifamily real estate. And we have, one group of students that are focusing on 2 to 4, like getting started. And then our other group of students who sometimes they just come right into apartments. Oftentimes they're either done fix and flips or small multifamily. And now they're like, okay, teach me how to do this other kind of real estate, because it's just again, vertical learning curve. There's so much that you don't know when you're getting started. And we just, we meet every week as a group, and we coach people through their deals. And then everyone else who's not in a deal yet is literally getting to learn from the person who's in something. So, fast forward, we launched our mastermind probably about 18 months ago, even though I've been coaching for like 15 years. But this group environment, thank you, COVID, for creating all the opportunity to not have in-person events. Now we realize this actually is a better container for our students to learn, which was a surprise. Everybody who's newer, when they get into their first deal or they get into a challenge, they already know what to do, because they just heard Amalia and Temi and Steve and Joni and Batel, who just went through all that. And they finally got it across the finish line, but they saw all the difficult things they went through. And they heard what we as the coaches were advising them. Like, okay, that's what happened. Fine. Go back to the seller, tell them to modify this, do this. This is absolutely unacceptable. We're not doing it. I don't care. And then make this call and say this exact thing, and then come back and let us know how it goes. So all of these other people who are new are getting to see, it's almost like they get to experience what it is to be in a deal while they're still taking, like they're watching like 200 videos in each course that they're actually learning from me. Like this is the A to Z. So they're watching it. Then they come on the calls and they see, like, what is it like to be in a deal? And what do you do when your lender backs out 1 week before closing, which just happened to one of our students last month? What do? You raised $700,000. Your partners are literally at the money waiting to put in, and your lender tells you 6 days before closing, we had an internal policy change and now we can't close. So everybody in the mastermind got to benefit from watching Debbie and Felicia basically like, okay, what do we need to do? Who are the lenders we talked to before? Getting on the phone, and basically they just like went into go mode. But everybody, it's like everybody, even people who are not in the deal, got to go along with them, so that if that ever happens to someone else in the future, they're going to be like, okay, you know what? I actually know what to do. I've been through this, even though I wasn't in it. So that's what it is. And I never envisioned that it would quite be like that, because doing Zoom wasn't really a big thing before last year. Yeah. And it's really been incredible. And everyone is the right, and I tell you, everyone knows coming in, like, please don't expect it to be easy. Otherwise, don't invest your time and don't invest your money, because it's not. And we're no BS. Like, we're going to tell you like it is, but we'll teach you how to do it safely. And we'll help you through the difficult parts that you're facing as you're going through it, so you're not alone. And you get to have our 20 years of our school of hard knocks to pull from all the wisdom and all the creativity to help you take it across the finish line. So it's awesome. We're super proud of them. Yeah. It's people facing their fears, realizing they are worthy of doing this for themselves, and watching them grow, watching someone who's really shy and doesn't want to like yell at their whoever's not doing what they need to do and being coached. You are absolutely going to call them to the mat, and you're going to say this, and now they got to go do it. And next time they're like, they're sitting a little taller, and they feel more confident in their voice and their ability to say, this is how it needs to be. So I feel like we're really lucky that we get to be in that position to help people on their journey, because Lord knows that was not available for us, and we suffered. Thank God though, because now we know what it's like to go through and overcome those things and help them to do that. But we really legitimately know what it's like to go through those things too.
I like it. I think I also like the frame, like, hey, I mean, it isn't easy. It is definitely difficult, but you got to put in the work. I really like that frame, because there's so many people nowadays hear like, oh, it's easy, just go out and do it. And like, it just sets you
marketing.
Then you get out into it, and you're like, oh, wait a second, that this didn't work. It's not as easy as I thought. So I must be doing something wrong. So they give up. Versus like, if you go into it thinking it's hard, and you make it happen, but you know it's hard. Like it's just a much better setup, I'd say.
You know what, Victor, like literally what you just said, that was my very first deal. That was my whole thing. I almost quit real estate. And it wasn't because the thing I was dealing with was so egregiously hard. At the time I thought it was. Now I'm like, please.
Like, oh,
but
easy
it
peasy, yeah.
but it was big that that my expectations were
Yeah.
not in alignment with reality. Like nobody told me, because they just were trying to sell me a seminar, and I paid for it and I went to it and I was like, wee. And then the first time I hit a big roadblock and I had no idea what to do. And back then there was no mentorship. I didn't have anybody to even call. I was like, I just thought there was something wrong with me. Like I must not be cut out for this, because no one ever talked about this. And that's one of my biggest concerns is I tell people, like, look, expect it to be challenging. Not because I don't want them to get in the game. I absolutely want them to, but I want them to get in a way that when they hit that first challenge, they're not mentally decimated. Like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. No, that's just real estate. And guess what? Those challenges are going to make you stronger. And when you go try to close on a 50-unit apartment building, you are going to be so grateful for all these difficulties that came up on a duplex, because now you know how to handle it. But if you want to get into having like the big cash flow, you got to build up as a person to get there. So you really need to stop looking at that as, oh my God, it's this bad thing, and look at it like, thank God I'm learning this now. And not on my, not when I'm doing a $2 million project. So I feel like overall it gives people the right message, that they can set their expectations and stay in the game long term. I hate the idea of people getting out. Yeah, totally.
Well, awesome stuff. So if folks are interested and they want to learn more about multifamily, about you guys, like what's the best way to connect with you guys?
Well, we have a Facebook group and we have a YouTube channel, both of which we do a ton of education on. Our Facebook group, you probably see us the most active, and we do like a weekly Q&A every week. Jen and I get on a Wednesday, like 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and it's a Zoom, and we literally answer any question about real estate. People don't have to be in our mastermind for that. Just they have to be in our Facebook groups, because that's where the link is. But we have a Facebook group. We do lots of free education. And then we have a YouTube channel that, it has videos on there for the last 10 years, but we just recently relaunched it. So, our video has more we have a video editor now. So now they're more fabulous and fun and stuff. But the education part of it goes back 10 years, and all of it is related to multifamily. So awesome. I think either way, I think if someone is interested in just like understanding and learning more, binge watching on the YouTube videos will definitely lay a really good foundation. And we're not the type to be like, okay, we're going to teach you steps A, B, and C, but you got to come and pay us for step D. No, shit, we'll tell you the whole thing. We'll tell you the thing. The people that come to us for help, it's because they're like, okay, you told me everything, but I don't want to do it on my own. And I want to be part of a network and other people who are doing it too. And we're like, okay, cool. And then obviously the education goes a lot deeper, but we literally give away our entire blueprint for free. Like anybody can watch our master classes and be like, we don't leave out anything, because we want people to succeed. Whether they come to us or not, I believe that people should have the information they need to go change their life. And so that's why we have chosen to do it that way. So anyway, either way, whether Facebook or YouTube or both, and both of the groups are called MultiFamily Real Estate Investing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think on YouTube there's actually a picture of Jen and I. On the other one, it's like black and gold colored. So anyway, that's how you know that you found us.
I'll make sure to link it below so everyone can get access to that. Awesome. And awesome stuff. Well, very cool. Well, again, appreciate you hopping on here, and appreciate you like sharing your story, sharing this insight. What's really cool is I actually learned a lot myself. Like I do flipping, and I guess I'm an expert on that because I do a lot of it. But like the multifamily is like all new to me. So a lot of the questions, I wasn't always just asking for the audience. I was like, oh, what does that actually mean? Because I want to learn something. So
yeah, I'm happy to share it.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you hopping on for sure.
Sure thing, Victor. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Until next time.
All right.